Hello, it's the Friday Talkie, and thank you to everyone who reminded me what day it is, because, well, we all know what happened last week. I want to start this video this week with a thank you to TheSymbianFreak from Norway, who has he sent me a load of games. He initially asked me had I got Ridge Racer Revolution and would I like it, and I didn't have it, so he sent me that. I watched this on a video on his channel, and I must say he's got a really good channel. He's got their gameplay videos, and just such a wide variety, and thoroughly worth checking out. And yeah, and then he chucked in a load of other games with it. We've got a Tomb Raider game there, Charlie's Angels for the GameCube. I'm totally unfamiliar with GameCube games. I've got one, and we've got the Wii as well. I have no idea what these are like. Minority Report, love the film. No idea about the game. WrestleMania, is it 8 or X8? Something. Yeah, you can't beat a good bit of wrestling. I tell you, I used to watch the WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call it, a lot on TV. Oh, around about 2000-ish. And absolutely loved it. I haven't watched it a lot since then. It sort of seems to have fractured and fragmented, and I don't know what's going on with all this TNA stuff, and I don't know where it's gone. But yeah, big thank you to Kuhn. There will be videos of those games forthcoming over the coming weeks. I've been concentrating on the Atari stuff that MaximumRD Retro Games lent to me, and I'm going to try and interweave other things in with them, because I've got so much good stuff to do videos of before I even get back onto what was my original flow of it's like all the stuff I'm doing at the moment is new games, where I had been just concentrating on the stuff I already had. It's cool, it's fantastic even. It just means there is absolutely not any shortage of gameplay videos going to be happening anytime soon. Just, yeah, so many games. Thank you, Kuhn. Now, I must pause and wipe my brow. It's boiling in here. Alright. Tag video. Rob MaximumRD, who regularly does excellent tag videos, it must be said, has done an Atari console and computer tag. Open tag, so anyone can respond. Anyone who wants to respond, do it as a response to Rob, not to me, because it's his tag. I'm just responding. You know what I mean. Yes, so I'm looking down there because that's where I've put all the things I'm going to show you. You wanted to know that. Yes, in his tag. Imagine the situation you have been told is one of those very strange hypothetical situations that you can't work out quite why it would ever happen. But hypothetically it has. You have been told by some higher force you can, for the rest of your days, only have one Atari console and one Atari computer. No others. Which do you have? Console. Right. I like the Jaguar. It's technically kind of crappy. They rushed it. They didn't have the money. It was released before it was ready. But I like it because I like quirky things. But I'm not choosing that because there just aren't enough games. There aren't enough good games. There are a few that are so bad that they're hysterical. But you wouldn't want that as the only thing you could have, the only Atari console. You would want some good stuff. And there are only maybe 2 or 3 really good games on there, in my opinion. So not that. The Atari Lynx, okay, I'm going to discount that purely because it's a handheld and not a console. I do like the Lynx, but again, there's not enough good stuff that really grabs me on it, and the screen is horrible, even on the Lynx too. So, which brings us down to, okay, I'm going to discount the 5200 because I've never played one. They didn't release them in the UK. I've never seen one in the UK. I probably know someone or one or two people who've got them, but yeah, they're just not a factor in the UK. So 7800 or 2600. I mean, I know a few people are saying 7800 because it can play 2600 games and it can play 7800 games, and it is a really good argument, and I would agree, except my experience with the 7800 is that the visual quality is crap. And knowing my luck, if I could only ever have one, I would get one with a crap video output, you know. For people in the US where that seems to be less of a problem, totally understand all of those saying, yes, 7800, best of both worlds. It's a very compelling argument, but certainly my experience of it is that it's a big visual mess. So that puts me off, which brings us down to the 2600, and there might be those who just say, hey, 2600. No, I've got to be more specific than that. I love the heavy sixer just because it's the first one. It's like your definitive 2600. In fact, it's not a 2600, it's a VCS, video computer system. That's what they were called back then. They weren't called 2600 until this, and this is the one that I would choose. If I could only have one Atari console for the rest of my life, it would be this, the Vader, the 2600, the first one that was known as 2600, and they even put it on the front there, yeah, which you didn't see that on earlier models, because it was just the catalogue number. I don't know why they did that, but why this one? Pure nostalgia. It's the one I was given for Christmas in 1983. Well, not that particular one, but that model. And it's entirely nostalgia. It's not any better or worse than any other 2600. I love the way it looks. The juniors, I kind of like the Black Irish one, but I just look at the juniors. By the time they came out, the 2600 was a relic. And so to me it was a kid's toy, and not even like a young teenager's toy. It was for, you gave it to your 3-year-old, you know, that they'd seen you playing on your Mega Drive. And they're like, I want a games console, so you give them one of them, because they were like 20 quid or something. Yes. Okay, computers. The Atari computers. There are a few to choose from. I mean, in terms of model lines, there are 3. Figure that one, or will be explained in a minute. You're thinking, okay, you've got your 8-bit line, you've got your ST line, what's the other one? Not telling yet. I'm an Amiga man. You will know this if you're remotely familiar. So the ST is not ever going to get a look in with me, and I'm not going to rationalize that and give you a logical reason for it. I could, but I'm not going to, because the reasoning is not logical. I love Amigas. If you were an Amiga man, STs were the work of the devil. Didn't need a logical explanation, that's just how it was, and that's still how it is with me. I don't need to be logical about it. So, it's going to have to be an 8-bit. This is kind of tricky actually, because the one that I would pick is the one that I like the least, and I will explain in a minute. You had your 400 and your 800, and they are my favourite. I love them because it's a visual thing and a nostalgia thing. I haven't got one to show you, which is a shame, but when I was in school, and like we had, I had a ZX81, and I got to hear about all the other computers that were available at the time, and the Atari 400 and 800 were the dog's bollocks. They were mega powerful. I mean, it was, what, how many years between the 400, 800 and the Commodore 64? Quite a few years, and it took that long for anything else to touch them performance-wise. And they kept on going with that kind of performance way through into early 90s. I mean, they were just an awesome line of computers. Sorry, dog's barking out there. So yeah, pure nostalgia for me with the 400 and 800, just how they look. But I won't choose them, or one of them. Then you've got the XL line. You've got the 600 XL like this one, which is really grubby and needs cleaning. But it's really heavy. I'd forgotten how heavy these were. Beautiful, beautiful computers. I don't care for the 1200 XL just because they were not a factor in this country. And compatibility issues as well. These are just visually pure class. Entirely compatible with the 400, 800. Cheaper, better reliability. Awesome keyboard. I love that keyboard. It's not quite as nice as the Acorn Electron one, but it's nice. But the one I would pick is the one I like the least. I have no nostalgia for this one whatsoever, but I would pick this. Be it the 65XE like this or the 130XE. And the reason I would pick it, and the only reason I would pick it, is because it will play more games. As the 8-bit line was developed, minor modifications were made which affected compatibility. So earlier computers wouldn't play some of the later games, and the XE will play more games. There are some minor hardware improvements on this. I don't even know what they are. I consider them so insignificant that I haven't bothered to find out. But I know that some XE games won't play on an XL and the earlier 8-bit ones. So yes, I would pick this purely because bigger software range. I think compared to the older ones, it is starting to grow on me, but I find it odd that it's bigger. I mean, this is the smaller model. You had, like, say smaller, less capable model. I always came in twos, and this was like the entry level, in the same way as the 600 XL was, but this is bigger, and technology being what it is, you expect things to get smaller, and so I found that odd. And I think, why did they do that? The design is growing on me. I mean, they styled them obviously to look like the ST range. That is the one I would pick, even though it's the one I like the least. So, that's answered the tag, but now you're wondering, what's that third line you're talking about? What is that third line of Atari computer I haven't mentioned, I wouldn't pick, but it's this. It's the portfolio. No one ever talks about the Atari portfolio, and with good reason, I think. I've had this for a few years. I've got a couple of bits of, I've got like a serial connector cable, or is it parallel or something, and I've got some funny cartridge thing that I can plug in that gives you instructions on how to use it. And I have no idea what practical things you can do with this. It is, to me, useless. There is no easy way to put software in this. It's got some built-in stuff that I don't remember. I don't think I have a manual for this, so you know. But I find them fascinating, and they're cool purely because they turned up on Terminator 2. I mean, how much cooler can you get? You got little young John Connor hacking a cash machine with one of these, and everyone's thinking, wow, I want to do that, I want one of those, and here they are. You can pick these up on eBay. They're not remotely rare. That they appear all the time, probably for the same reason that I wouldn't pick this in this tag, because you can't do diddly with it. It's probably got, I don't know, a spreadsheet, database, word processor, or text editor or something, but the connectivity on it is so lacking that what are you going to do with it once you've done your editing of said things? I don't know. It's interesting, it's a novelty, it looks cool, it's a nice thing to say, I've got one of those, but you're never going to do anything with one of these. Yeah. Okay, moving on. Okay, PsimanUK, that's Psi spelled P-S-I, has also done a tag, and that tag is Okay, you've got a arcade cabinet, jammer based, I guess, but the basic idea is you can have 6 games built into it, and the only controls are you've got a joystick and 6 buttons. So you can have no driving games, no games that have funky control systems or whatever. It's joystick, 6 buttons maximum. What games would you have in your 6-game arcade cabinet? Very good question. Very, very, very frustrating when I took in the specific that you have to have that control method. That wipes out some of my what would have been choices. It wipes out the most obvious choice. Yeah, and he asked, could we show some game footage if possible as well, whilst telling what we would choose. So I'm now going to go into the other room and do that. Right then, the first game I would choose is Space Invaders. Why? In all cases, I think it comes down to pure nostalgia. This was the first video game that really... I mean, I was excited about video games right from Pong, but this was the first one that I really was gobsmacked by. You know, I'd played Pong, I'd played Gunfight, and assorted other really quite primitive games, and then this came out, and it was so head and shoulders above everything else that had been around. I was gobsmacked. I would spend every penny that I could lay my hands on playing it. So this would, you know, even though it's compared with modern games and all the possible games you could have in your 6-game cabinet, this is really very primitive. I would have to have it. A few years ago I was in Blackpool, and near the Pleasure Beach there is a little arcade. I don't know if it's still there, and it had loads of retro arcade cabinets in there, and you know, there was your Street Fighters and assorted other arcade games, like really popular ones, but I just went straight to the Space Invaders. It was the only one there that just said, play me now, and I did. And I think I got through about 3 levels. Would have to have this. I mean, on here, what am I playing this on? One of your PS2 compilation things. Taito Legends 2. That's the one. Yeah, they've done a good job of simulating that sort of translucent, reflected thingamajig that gives you the cool background. Because they weren't in-game graphics. Yes, I would have to have that, and I would like that version, though I suppose with a multi-game cabinet it would have to just be the black and white one. Okay, moving on. The second game that I would choose in my 6-game cabinet, Asteroids. This came out at largely the same time as Space Invaders. At least it registers in the same memory location, if you like, in my head. It's an era when video games were still magic and magical, and well, they've always been exciting, but you know, it was something new, and here was something that wasn't an up-the-screen shooter. Oh, it was a little bit different. It was quite frantic in a way that was less regimented, if you like, than Space Invaders. I think I prefer Space Invaders, but it's a must-have. I think largely the cabinet I've got in mind it's not all about impressive technical feats of engineering and programming and modern gaming or whatever. It's a pure nostalgia trip. Pretty much all of the games that I'm wanting to put in it, they're all about pure nostalgia. There we go. Moving on. An absolute must-have for me. Galaxian. This, I mean, it came a little bit after Space Invaders and Asteroids, and this was the point where I realised, alright, gaming is getting more advanced, it is going to progress, it is going to get more challenging, it is going to get harder, and I like it. It was a step up. It was also interesting kind of analysing it from a design standpoint, that it showed that gaming could be a slow progression as well as a leap in an entirely different direction. I played Space Invaders and I played Asteroids and was aware that these were completely different games. You know, the whole design philosophy was entirely different. So when Galaxian came out, I was very aware that it was, apart from being damned hard, heavily influenced by Space Invaders. I could see how one game had evolved into another, and I found that interesting. Bugger all to do with why I love it. My reason for all of the games in here is entirely nostalgia. I've said it already, I'm saying it again because I do repeat myself, because that's the kind of guy I am. Yeah, the other thing about all of the games I'm choosing here is that they are all very early. You know, there are more modern, more advanced games that I could choose, but I don't want to. This is when, for me, arcade games were really special. By the time your more modern, more advanced games came out, the arcades had changed. They weren't the same. They weren't your dark, dingy, smelly, very dodgy kind of places. They were getting commercialized in a way that changed them. If you were to compare the arcades at that time with, say, music, the arcade games that I liked, like this, when Galaxian was in the arcades, it was like the music scene would have been the 70s. And then by the time things like, I don't know, Street Fighter 2 came out, the arcades were like the musical equivalent of the 90s or something. They'd got safe, they'd got generic, they'd got family friendly. And I didn't like that. That was not... It was just different. The atmosphere was entirely different. You know, 70s music was a little bit... Actually, some of it was bloody awful. But, you know, there was something a bit seedy about it, a bit naive as well. I liked it more. And those are the kind of games I'm choosing here. Anyway, I've shown my absolute ineptitude at this game, so moving on. Oh, that is the most awesome sound on the planet. I would pick this game just for that sound, I think. Fortunately, the game itself is worth picking it for. Oh crap. Yeah, you know I love this game. It slaughters me like no other game, but I love it. Yay. And that is really what this game is all about. Pure butchery of the player. Because it will truly slaughter you and oh, yeah. Shame you for being less than perfect. And you'll love every minute of it, and if you don't, well, whoops. I think, oh God, this was one of the first games that ever made me afraid to play it. It was embarrassing. There would be people watching, and you knew within about 30 seconds of putting your 10 pence into the machine that you were going to look like an inept fool, because it was going to tear you to pieces and call you a girly. No disrespect to any female players here. I should probably edit that out, but I'm not going to, because it would just spoil the footage here. Yeah. you felt like a big girl's blouse when you played this, and I still do, because it, as you can see, slaughters me, and I wouldn't be doing much better if I wasn't talking at the same time. It is just so damned hard, but it is so awe-inspiring. I would... Oh, God. If I had to spend the rest of eternity with only 2 games that I could play, this would be one of them. The one that I would choose, I can't put on in this theoretical, hypothetical arcade cabinet, because it has a fancy controller. Some of you will know which game I'm talking about already. But this, on a standard-ish kind of controller, and I'm assuming I've got enough buttons to play with, this would be the one. Oh God, it's just epic beyond words. Unlike my playing. Defender by Williams. Okay, I've got to switch over to MAME to show you this one. Gyrus. This would have to go into my virtual cabinet. Can't find there's the fire button. Yeah, this is one of those games that I played back in the Agora arcade in Wolverton, Milton Keynes, when we used to go roller skating. My whole family went roller skating pretty much, and there was an awesome arcade there, and when this came out I was like, wow. And what does it for me on this is the music. It has awesome music when you can hear it. You can't really hear it now, which is a shame. I'm turning up the volume. Can't remember who the music's by or what it's by. If memory serves, it's called Toccata, but I can't remember who it's by. Sky? God, there's a band I've forgotten all about. Yeah, it's hard to pin down. I think it's just the fact that it's so different and it had such great music. And I was able to survive for more than 30 seconds. That was quite an appealing thing about this game. Because I did find myself frustrated in the arcades a bit, in that my favourite games used to kill me very quickly. And this one didn't. There we go. Anyway, moving on. That was Gyrus. This is iRobot. I would have to have this in my arcade cabinet. It's just a must. It is so epically different, and I can't remember what the controls are. Just, yeah. You've got to convert the red bits into blue bits and get across and kill that eye thing, and not run into stuff and not get killed by the eye. And this was in, what year was this? It was ludicrously early for 3D. It was epic, and like no one had seen anything like... Oh crap, I forgot the fire button. Yeah, was it 81, 80... Was it... I don't know if it was as late as 83. It was just massively early for any kind of 3D, and it failed because of it. But I loved it. I was gutted that it wasn't in more arcades. But they had it in the Agora, so I got to play it, and I just couldn't get enough of it. And this would have to be a must-have for me. It's just like... there was so nothing like it. Arse. So, yeah. That would be my 6th game in my 6-game jammer cabinet thing. Assuming you could get all of these on jammer boards. Anyway, yeah. But, here's the thing. I love all of these games. They are all fantastic. To have all of them in an arcade cabinet would be epic. But I would swap all of those absolutely fantastic games for this one arcade cabinet that I can't include the game in this cabinet because it's got a fancy controller. And I think there are a few of you who will know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I've got to do this. I would swap all of those. I can't have this in my 6-button, 1-joystick cabinet. But if I could, I would have this. I would swap all of those games for this. It is the most utterly epic, awesome, magnificent, amazing, gobsmacking game ever made. As far as I'm concerned, you can take every other game and you can shove it.
I'm going in.
If it meant I could have this in a sit-down cabinet preferably, but I would settle for a stand-up cabinet. I'm playing on medium here, which I don't normally do, but I wanted to get straight to the towers because they're awesome. It just doesn't get better than this. Okay, I think I've made my point. Or shall I get to the trench? Will I get to the trench, actually? You have to see the trench. It's just... oh, God.
Aren't you trying to increase the power?
Yeah, increase the power to my brain so I can play better. My name's not Luke. That's not my name. I love that song. Yeah, there we go. Yes, so you've seen my six choices. I would choose those if I was limited to that 6-game cabinet with only joystick and 6 buttons. Those are the ones I would choose, but I would toss the whole lot out of the window if I could have this instead. Yeah. Thank you to PsimanUK for coming up with an excellent tag video. I will... this is always a problem when I'm answering 2 tag videos in one video. I can only put a response to one of them. So either way, I'm going to put linkage down there to both the tag videos. Okay. Right. Normally I do a shout out at this point, and I'm kind of going to do that, but I'm going to do something a bit different. What I normally do is I in my journeys through YouTube, shall we call it, I come across channels, new channels that maybe not everyone is familiar with or whatever, you know, they're just starting out, and I think this is a great channel, and I give them a shout out because I think it is good to help channels who are, where they're just starting out, you know, bring them to a wider audience where possible. But it has occurred to me that in doing that I am neglecting the people who have been around a bit longer, and I don't necessarily give them the mentions that they deserve, or maybe, who knows. But there are some people I want to mention now, and it is the channels that I watch religiously. Whenever they release a video, I watch them. And this doesn't necessarily mean that these are my favourite people on YouTube. This is just about their video output. God, how do I explain it? There are people on YouTube who I consider my peers, who started at the same time as me, you know, have been going as long as me, in some cases have a significantly larger audience than me now, but I still feel that bond because we started at the same time, and there I'm talking about the likes of Gamester81 and Luke Morse 1. Everyone should know who they are. We all started at about the same time, and there is that kind of, I feel it anyway, kind of a kinship there, just like, yeah, I remember that time starting out then, and these people were doing this and blah blah. And then there are the people who I consider I mean, not to say that the ones I haven't just referred to I don't consider my friends, but there is a group of people who I consider my friends. I communicate with a lot, be it on YouTube or on Twitter, and I could sit there and run through the whole list, but it's actually quite a lot of people. I consider these people my friends. So if they're not in the little group of channels that I'm about to refer to, I hope they'll understand why, and it doesn't mean I think less of them or whatever. There is something specific about these channels I'm about to shout out, and it's not about who they are or how well I know them or how good a friend or whatever I consider them. It's just about, I watch every single thing that they do because it entertains me in a particular way, or I find it interesting in a particular way, and it's very consistent. God, the potential for upsetting people by doing this is so high, so I hope everyone understands what I'm trying to get at. So, I've mentioned him before, but I really want to give him due, I can't think of the word, respect, something like that. He deserves a mention, he deserves recognition for what he's doing. This is Trouble8385, Robert. He does this video series called YouTube Gaming Community. Basically anything that's going on in the community that is noteworthy or interesting, he covers it, and he covers it in a really mature way. I'm not going to go as far as to say that Rob is the gaming community's conscience, because I think that would be doing him a disservice. But what he does is look at things, and frequently it's the positive stuff, mostly it's the positive stuff. Sometimes if there is a controversy or controversy, whatever way you want to pronounce it, he will cover it and he will look at it in a mature way. And there are times where I'm seeing stuff going on and I'm thinking, oh, I don't know what I make of this. I watch Trouble8385's channel, and he puts it into perspective in a way that, in my opinion, no one else manages to do. Yeah, so it's just like absolute respect as far as I'm concerned. He's got 1,615 subscribers. I mean, it's not right for me or anyone else to say this person deserves more subscribers. It surprises me that he hasn't got more subscribers. Maybe, I suppose the thing there is he doesn't do a light throwaway bubblegum thing. It's not instant gratification. It is meaningful. What he says on here is meaningful, and I hold it in very high regard. I hold what he says and what he does on this channel in very high regard. Yeah, okay, that's number one. Okay, this one actually is going to be kind of tricky. It is Jason Moore, but he's got 3 channels, and I actually never know which one I'm watching. You've got James Moore 87, you've got More Games J, and you've got bloody More J. I never know which one I'm watching. I always know exactly who I'm watching. I never fail to watch Jason's videos. I don't ever know what the hell he's talking about, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes he's thought-provoking, sometimes he's just bloody ridiculous, sometimes he's out and out offensive, and I just don't care, because it's all tongue-in-cheek. It should never be taken seriously, except when it should. He just never fails to make me laugh. I mean, he's completely off his head. But see, I don't know which one of these channels to shout out, really. Not that he ever needs a shout out from me. He's got a huge view. I mean, well, 13,000 on his Jason Moore 87 channel. But, you know, this is all about who do I watch consistently every time they do something, and I do watch Jason Moore every time he does something, because he is so consistently entertaining, and in such an incredibly random way. You just don't know what he's going to do next. And that's very refreshing, because, I mean, there is a gaming slant to what he does. Is generally not the retro stuff, it's generally the modern stuff, but I'm into the modern stuff as well. But generally, you know, it's comment, that's really what he does. He comments on gaming as it's happening at the moment, you know, what the industry is doing. And a whole load of other stuff that I just can't even begin to explain to you. It's completely whacked out in the best possible way. That sounded very Kenny Everett, didn't it? And how many of you know what I'm talking about there? Who cares? Right, moving on. Just get off. This is my show. You don't get to talk on my show. Acorn Electron TV. This is run by a guy called Dave. I have shouted out various of the channels I'm referring to tonight before. Insert coherent sentence here. I have never, I mean, some of the people who I am shouting out or mentioning or whatever, I consider friends, I have communicated with, things like that. I have never had any kind of communication with this chap, which is not to say he's unsociable, it just means I've never left a comment or a message. I just enjoy what he does. He's got this series, 5 games in 5 minutes, Acorn Electron games, and concise, that's the word. He will cram 5 games into 5 minutes, or maybe just a little bit over 5 minutes, and he does it. You can watch these videos, and at the end of it, at the end of that 5 minutes, you will know if you want to play those 5 games or not. There are channels when they do talk about a game, and mine in particular, I can ramble on at great length, and you maybe still won't know whether it's any good or not, because, well, to say I'm biased is an understatement. But you watch one of these, what you see is absolutely what you get. He gets straight to the point. He chucks out a video about every couple of weeks, something like that, and I have to watch them, partly because I'm an Acorn Electron fan anyway. Yeah, I just can't miss one of his videos. They're so informative, I think is the word. Yeah, Acorn Electron TV. Another one who really doesn't need a shout out from me, but I really want to show a bit of respect to. Yeah, I think that's the way I want to phrase it. Phreakindee, Clint, the lazy gamer. I wouldn't call him lazy, I don't know where he's getting that from. He has got this is about humour. I appreciate a certain kind of humour, and what Clint does really hits the spot for me, because he's very informative. He knows what he's talking about. I mean, his hardware reviews are absolutely fantastic, and then his game reviews, he's got this really dry sense of humour. Deadpan, but you can hear the grin, or maybe it's my own grin that I'm hearing when he does what he does. But I can't even begin to explain it, but he has this sense of humour that has me laughing my head off. And maybe it would be doing a disservice to everyone if I thought not everyone got it. Maybe everyone gets it, and my God, he's got enough subscribers here, I'm pretty sure everyone gets it. But it is very, there's a bit of, I don't know if it's Jack D or something, just this deadpan. He's keeping a straight face whilst really laughing, and I love that, and that's so hard to find. I can't think of another channel that makes me laugh as much in the same way, because it is really intelligent humour. You can feel Clint's brains bulging out of the channel when he speaks, and that sounds kind of bizarre, but I'm sure you know what I mean. There is something bloody awesome about what he does, and so, I feel, yeah, that I just want to mention what he's doing and how much I think awesome. Phreakindee, lazy game, is it lazy game room? Well, whatever, yeah. Lazy game reviews, that's it, that's what the R stands for. Last one for today then, niceandgames. The name sums up his channel perfectly. It's nice. He does his gameplays, and there is something really refreshing. There is absolutely no pretentiousness, and so actually, I don't even want to use the word pretentiousness in this, because I don't think there are too many channels that are pretentious, but this is just, he plays the game and he talks about it and says why he likes it in a way that I find so innocent isn't the right word, but there is something very, no, I'm going to say innocent. There is a certain innocence to the way he does it, And I'm not explaining that at all well, and I hope he understands what I mean. There is no pretension, there is no trying to be cool, but in doing that, he is just so damn cool, and he will be gobsmacked that I'm saying that, I'm sure. But what he does is really cool, because it is different. I can actually think of another channel that does the same thing, who I actually also watch as much, who whenever he does something I watch without fail, and that is Atari Leaf. Yes, it is that. No bullshit, no pretension, no trying to hype it up. It's just, here's a game, it's good. This is what it looks like. This is why I like it. And in a way that I smile every time I watch. It is so refreshing, because there are so few channels that do this. Which is not to disrespect any channel that doesn't do this, because there are so many fantastic channels out there. I just happen to like this style so much that I watch everything he does, and that is what that is what I'm talking about here with these channels that I'm mentioning. So that's niceandgames. There we go. I do hope that will be taken in the right way. It's not about favoritism either. Like I said, there are people on here who I consider my friends, who I know much better than these people, some of them who I've mentioned here. But this isn't about these. It's just the ones where the content, to me, I find right up my street, and I want to just give them due deference. Is that right? I don't think that's the right word. I wanted to mention them and say I watch this channel, everything they do, because I think that deserves saying. Yeah. Alright, closing comments. Don't know really. I've still got a pile of Atari games to put on. I am going to try and interweave those with the games that TheSymbianFreak sent me, and these Amstrad games that Demon of Gaming sent me. It is tricky. I mean, all of these games I've either been given or lent, got videos of or to do, and it's like, how the hell do you cram them all in? So I'm just going to have to interweave them all rather than do them one series then another series, and it keeps it interesting as well, I think. Hey, guess what? I haven't done any Shenmue yet. I so want to, and I just keep. I have to have a good whole hour spare before I can do one of those, and I'm just not getting a spare hour at the moment. I've also got a couple of Dreamcast games that I bought when I was in Scarborough, and I said I was going to do them, and I haven't done them yet. End of bloody FridayTalkie closing comment seems to be more about what I haven't done than what I'm going to do in the end. Yeah. Okay, thank you for watching. I've got to go and answer the door.